ઓકે ઓકે સરની છે બીજી સ્પીચ એટલે 5 મિનિટમાં ચાલુ કરીએ. રજિસ્ટ્રાર સર તો આવી ગયા છે, બોલાવજો ધીમે ધીમે અને સર આવે પછી બરાબર. હા બસ એ બસ ચાલુ કરી દીધું. ઓકે ભલે ભલે ભલે. ફિલ્મ ચાલુ કર ના. આટલા બધા ઝૂમ થઈ ગયા. હા રાત જોતા હતા ભાઈ. આમાં +3 કેમ દેખાય? આ 2 આટલા આમાં કરવું જ પડશે. બધા મ્યુટ કરી જ નાખી. હવે એની એડવર્ટાઇઝ દેવી છે. हाँ बोल. हाँ करते आपका आवाज आ रहा है.
Innovation is power. The power to walk down never before known paths. The power to drive the transforming world today. The power to break the shackles of conventional and conquering it. We enable you to break the old. We are the Gujarat Technological University, the International Innovative University. Since its inception over a decade ago, GTU has been empowering young and curating minds to realize their true potential. Over 4 lakh inspired students are enrolled with one of the premier academic universities in India. GTU, an intellectual destination for all those who seek not just to imbibe knowledge, but to excel in every endeavor. With more than 450 affiliated colleges in its fold operating across 5 zones of the state, GTU is an accomplished educational administrative body. Its motto is to change and challenge conventional thinking, replacing it by innovative acumen.
Today, Gujarat Technological University is the preferred destination for students from all over the Gujarat for technical education. GTU strive for innovation, research and startups which create job and entrepreneurship.
Widening the vision to make this world a better place are distinctive disciplines like engineering, architecture, management, pharmacy, and computer application are designed keeping in mind the transforming era of speed and technology. GTU is the first ever university in India that pioneered to inculcate design engineering in 6 semesters of undergraduate engineering program. Our vivid curriculum allows our students to cultivate a mindset of innovation, enhancing their skills. GTU offers 1 to 6 years programs in diploma, bachelor's, master's and doctorate. GTU has established 3 diverse postgraduate schools in academic year 2017-18, approved by AICTE and PCI. In the wake of increasing demand for cybersecurity, GTU has started PG courses to prepare competent manpower specializing in cybersecurity and mobile technology. These courses run under GTU School of Engineering and Technology with an intake of 30 students in each course. With an aim to contribute in the field of medicine by assuring quality and safety of drugs, vaccines and other biological products, GTU has established School of Pharmacy, offering M.Pharm in drug regulatory affairs. Our distinctive management programs infused with in-depth research like MPhil in business management gives a competitive edge to our students over their peers. To deliver quality education in the field of global business, GSMS started MBA in International Business, focusing to maximize the global opportunities for our students to perform exponentially in 7 international markets. We understand the ever-advancing technology and ever-changing time, and we adapt accordingly by offering distinguished online e-courses so that boundaries in time no longer hinder your aspirations. Excellence is to do a common thing in an uncommon way. GTU understands this belief and has taken every step towards making it a reality. Partnering with Bosch Rexroth India Limited, GTU envisions to actualize an industry institute partnership by making our students industry ready and to bridge the much needed technology gaps between industry and academics. The first ever Center of Excellence is currently functioning at Vishwakarma Government Engineering College, Chamkheda, Ahmedabad, equipped with the cutting-edge facilities. Global is the new local. Going the extra mile for our students is do. We have a dedicated Department of International Relations to manage, expand and enhance international relations and activities of the university. We have collaborations with more than 30 foreign universities. DIR aims to provide an exposure to Indian students for international pedagogical environment in their academic specialization. International Experience Program (IEP) under GTU is one of the largest students' mobility program by the technological universities of India. More than 1,500 students have been benefited through IEP since its inception in 2011. Under IEP, GTU has collaborated with the universities of US, Canada, Germany and Bulgaria, offering a unique opportunity to the students and enhancing their skills with a global perspective. More than 350 students participate in summer program for 6 to 8 weeks every year. Foreign Student Cell is dedicatedly looking after the admission and administration of more than 500 international students studying under various full-time programs of GTU from across 43 countries around the globe. GTU ensures the best learning and living environment for all international students, along with the essence of a strong socio-cultural experience, making them truly a global citizen. Exploring and managing various joint academic programs with foreign universities. Joint events like conferences, workshops, seminars and research projects with foreign universities. Our international activities also focus on Winter School Program, where students from foreign universities visit GTU for short-term study tour. Our exemplary faculty members are the core of this staunch body. Imparting practical and theoretical knowledge in today's day and era is no easy task. More than 21,000 skilled and dedicated faculty members across all the colleges consistently drive themselves to spearhead the responsibility of knowledge sharing. Innovation being in the core of every step we take. GTU has partnered with leading industries to encourage industry-academia knowledge exchange. GTU has more than 150 startup initiatives to encourage the innovative ideas of our students. and give them the necessary pillars they crave for. Over 350 patents have been filed and 70 plus patents have been published by our affiliated colleges.
I need to tell this thing.
Integrated Training and Placement Cell conducts campus placements with many reputed firms to deliver industry-ready skilled manpower every year. The training received at GTU enables our students to be the most sought after in their chosen fields. To harness the entrepreneurial skills in the students, GTU Keepsake Welding Research and Skill Development Center, an initiative partnering with Keepsake Engineering Consultancy Private Limited, is being successfully run at LD College of Engineering in Ahmedabad. The center is equipped with workshops with latest facilities for classrooms and actual hands-on training in the field of welding and non-destructive testing. GTU has been recognized for many achievements nationally and internationally. Acknowledged as the best university in internationalization. Ranked in top 60 for 3 consecutive years in one of the most prestigious robotics competition, RoboCon. GTU Robotics Club acquired Best Robotics Lab Setup Award by ICRA, award for the most upcoming university in Western India in 2018. Recognition in Limca Book of Records for celebrating the National Days of 50 countries as a part of the Global Country Study Report. Best Technical University Award at Indian Society for Technical Education for the year 2017. At GTU, we create the leaders of tomorrow with our innovative initiatives. Startup initiatives for the emerging talents. Research centers to provide new innovations and deep insights. Community and co-creation centers. Design and project-based learning system. A changing world where only one thing is constant, and that's innovation. Curating ideas that were never known. Building a new India of innovation and intellect. GTU, the International Innovative University. Your place to move forward.
Good morning to all, and welcome to 5 days ATAL AICT sponsored faculty development program on design thinking. I'm Dr. Kaushal Bhatt, coordinator of this FDP. Before we inaugurate or before we start with the speech and the blessings of experts, I just would like to share a few things about FDP, few instructions. Please keep your mic on mute mode when sessions are going on. And if you have any questions, so at the end of the session, you can ask the questions to the expert. There would be a separate 10-15 minutes time would be kept for the question answer session at the end of each session throughout the 5 days. The attendance will be taken from Microsoft Teams. So once we complete this inauguration session on WebEx, we will shift to Microsoft Teams. Login ID and password have already been shared with all the registered participants. Most of them have already logged in and seen the scheduled FDP. Both the sessions of today's FDP has been scheduled, and you can join. You have to join the link at a specific time. I already shared yesterday on the WhatsApp group about some of the instructions and timings and everything. So I request all the participants to follow those instructions, because these are the mandate which has been decided by AICTE for this online FDP. Today we have 2 sessions at 10:15, 10:30, second session, that is actually the first session, and second session will be at 12 noon. Our Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, is available now. चालू कर दो हाँ मैं पता की okay again good morning to all of you. Honorable Vice Chancellor Sir of Gujarat Technological University is available now. So we will formally begin our first session, inaugural session. Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Vidyarupena Samsthita Namastasye 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 Namo Namah. I, Dr. Kaushal Bhatt, coordinator of this ATAL AICTE sponsored national level FDP on design thinking. It is my pleasure to share that today we have with us Honorable Vice Chancellor Sir of GTU, Professor Dr. Naveen Sheikh, Honorable Vice Chancellor of World Design University, Professor Dr. Sanjay Gupta, Dr. George Hirter, Professor, Lucerne University, Switzerland, Shri G.T. Pandya, Director, Directorate of Technical Education, Government of Gujarat, Registrar Sir, Dr. K.N. Kher, Dr. Pankaj Rai Patel, Director, Graduate School of Management Studies, GTU, and the FDP participants from all over India. Before we begin the formal speeches, as per the tradition of our university, I request all the dignitaries to stand at their places for the university song. I request to play GTU song. There is a technical error. Okay.
सूरत से कच्छ तलक फैला ज्ञानालय, अपार संजोए संभावना गुजरात तकनीकी विश्वविद्यालय। जेडीयू जेडीयू समुचित ज्ञान समन्वय, जेडीयू जेडीयू समुचित ज्ञान समन्वय। जन कल्याण का अडिग हिमालय गुजरात तकनीकी विश्वविद्यालय। जेडीयू जेडीयू समुचित ज्ञान समन्वय, जेडीयू जेडीयू समुचित ज्ञान समन्वय।
कैमरा स्विच ऑन स्विच ऑफ हो रहा है इसीलिए।
Thank you very much. To all the dignitaries, I request to please take your seats. Moving ahead with the function, I request our Registrar Sir, Dr. Kher Sir, to welcome the dignitaries and participants
Mohammad
of this
Mustafa,
national level faculty
1470.
development program on design thinking. Please, sir.
1470.
Good morning,
Eh,
everybody. Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir. Today's webinar from Graduate School of Management of Gujarat Technological University. I, on behalf of the Gujarat Technological University, I welcome the Chief Guest, Shri G.T. Pandya, sir, IAS Director, Technical Education, Government of Gujarat, Guest of Honor, Professor Dr. Sanjay Gupta, sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, World University of Design, Haryana, Guest of Honor, and our international speaker, Dr. Jorge, Hirter, Professor, Lucerne University, Switzerland, eminent resource person from the renowned institution, Dr. Pankaj Rai Patel, Director, JSMS, Gujarat Technological University, all the participants of the FDP, I am delighted to share that all seats are full and more than 200 participants have been registered for the FDP, which are from 21st state of the India. GTU is working on design thinking since 2013, and it became the first university in the India to implement the design thinking in the engineering education at UG level. More than 100 FDP to train the faculty members of the institution have been organized by the Gujarat Technological University in the last 3 years. I proudly share that GTU has established Design Innovation Center DIC, supported by Ministry of Education, formerly known as MHRD, New Delhi. I am very happy to share that this FDP will focus on the design thinking in management education so as new dimension of design thinking is initiated by our PG School of Management, and I must congratulate the team Gujarat Technological University GSMS. Once again, I would like to welcome all the dignitaries of this national level virtual FDP on design thinking and hope that this FDP will enlighten the spark in the minds of the participants, which will help them to share their future with respect to design thinking approach. Thank you all. Again, I welcome all the dignitaries. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for warm welcome to dignitaries and the participants of this national level FDP. The growth and development of any organization lies on the vision of its leader. GTU is fortunate to have Professor Dr. Naveen Sheth as visionary Vice Chancellor. He is the source of inspiration and motivation for all of us. I request Honorable Vice Chancellor, sir, to shower his blessings on this occasion of National FDP. Please, sir.
Namaskar, very good morning. Respected the today's chief guest, Shri G.T. Pandya sir, IAS, Director Technical Education, Government of Gujarat. The guest of honor, Dr. Sanjay Gupta, Honorable Vice Chancellor, World University of Design, Haryana. Dr. Jorge, Hirter, Professor, Lucerne University, Switzerland. Director, Dr. Pankaj Rai Patel, our Registrar, Dr. K.N. Kher, all faculties across the India join in this virtual FDP program arranged by the Gujarat Technological University under the support from the AICT ATAL Academy. The Gujarat Technological University is the largest university of the Gujarat. Due to this pandemic COVID-19, the education sector is affected, but we have knocked down the lockdown and continuously programs were arranged in innovation for faculty development program, for teaching, learning with the students. So all programs are without an interruption continuously going on. I also congratulate the ATAL Academy of AICT that number of FDP arranged by this ATAL Academy, and in compared to the normal situation, in this abnormal condition, there are maximum faculty development program by ATAL Academy, and the teachers community all over the India is benefiting by this important initiative by the AICT. Today I congratulate our organizer of the GTU School Business Management, particularly for selecting a very important topic, design. Because design thinking, design innovation, design technology, all these are new things and they are not properly focused by the academic institution. GTU is the pioneer to introduce the design thinking and design technology in the all faculties and all semesters and all discipline at the GTU. So definitely for a management school, this topic is very important, and that's why the faculties from all over the India, about from 21 states, they have registered for this FDP arranged by the GTU. And we have experts from across the India and outside the India for this topic, because the upgradation of the faculty is very important. Technology is developing very fast, and the upgrade the knowledge of the teachers is important for the students, for the society, for the nation. So whichever the topic discussed here will definitely benefiting the teachers and indirectly to the students and whole process of education. So again, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for motivating us and ignite the design into the participants and management. Moving ahead with the inaugural session, our first guest of honor for the inaugural session is Dr. Sanjay Gupta, Honorable Vice Chancellor of World University of Design, Sonipat, Haryana. He is an alumni of IIT Delhi and IIM Ahmedabad. Dr. Gupta has had distinguished academic career of more than 3 decades. He started as a researcher with Textile Department at IIT Delhi and went on to be a part of faculty at Technological Institute of Textile Sciences, Bhiwani, National Institute of Fashion Technology, Delhi, Goenka University, Gurgaon, and World University of Design, Sonipat from 2015 onwards. He was a UNDP Fellow at Fashion Institute of Technology, New York, USA. Dr. Gupta's most significant contribution has been in establishing design as a mainstream field of study and career choice in India. Several interventions with long-term impact were made during his stint at NIFT. Dr. Gupta is a prolific writer and speaker. His writings in the last decade have focused on importance of design in promoting employment opportunities for youth in the country and the options it offers to students to STEM and non-STEM stream students. Students trained by him have gone on to set up highly successful design enterprises with a wide international footprint. I request Sir to share his views on this occasion. Over to you, sir.
A very good morning to you all. Dr. Naveen Sheth, Dr. George, Mr. Pandya, my faculty colleagues from all over the country. It's a pleasure for me to be here. And I thank Gujarat Technical University for thinking of us to be called here. I have a presentation to share. So if you give me a minute, I'll just share that. So this is what I thought I'll talk to you because it is an FDP and all of you are studying to be studying design thinking. I call it freedom from the known. Let me take you briefly through, but before I begin, maybe I take a minute to introduce my university. World University of Design was established in 2018, just 3 years back, and it is India's first university dedicated only to creative education. We offer nearly 30 programs in various undergraduate, postgraduate, doctoral level on art, architecture, design, and design management. These are just the range of courses which we offer. The first one being the design school, which offers transportation design, product, industrial, interior, retail. Then we have a school of communication and school of fashion, which offers various programs in these two, including animation, gaming, film, video, etc. We have an art school, which offers everything from digital art to fashion art. A school of performing arts, which offers dance, music, acting, and everything. And we have a school of management, which offers an MBA and a BBA programs with design thinking at the core. So just to give you an introduction and also an invitation for all of you that if any point in time you want to visit and have a look, you are most welcome. Coming back to the topic of the day, let me begin by giving you some simple definitions. Everybody would be asking, what is design thinking? It's a formal, as I say, a formal method of solving problems, complex, complicated problems, the way designers solve the design problems. So the approach is different. It's not the typical analytical scientific methods where you define all the parameters which are influencing your solution with the problem, and you collect data and then you take a logical, reasonable solution to it. No, it's more human-centered. It places the user at the center of the problem and then focuses on finding a solution to his problem. That is the way the empathy gets built into the whole process, and that's why it is different from the usual scientific method. But at the end of it, it is a commercial activity, very much a part of business, because at the end, they create and sell successful products, services, or anything else. Design thinking cuts across all sectors, like management also does, right? Now, this is one little bit of a diagram just showing many top sectors. On the left is one, you see, which is where the research and development is less important, but design is more important. And on the extreme right is where research and development is more important than design. And in the center, they have equal emphasis. But what you can see is that the expenditure on design is there everywhere, in every industry. This process, and this is, I think, every one of you would be familiar with, would have been told. It starts from the first point, which is research or user focus, defining the problem, visualizing or ideating, experimenting or developing a solution, and finally iterating or diversifying into other things. It's a usual process, but I'll explain it to you in a little bit different way. When we say user focus, we are placing the user in the center. And, not just the data, we are looking at and gathering information and insights. And there are a number of tools which are very different from the usual research tools, which might be like, for example, a cultural immersion or a cross-cultural comparison, shadowing a person or developing the persona of a user, or that kind of thing. Let me give it by example. Many of you will be familiar with this phone, a Nokia i0105, which was somewhere in the early part of the century, 2001, 2 or something like that. It became the biggest and still remains the largest selling phone in the world. What was the reason and how did it develop? Nokia wanted at that point in time to make a phone which can go to the last person in India. Everybody becomes a user. And, their design team had come up with some solutions, but they really wanted to know what, and that's why the design thinking was brought in. And they deputed a team which went into shadowing the target segment or doing a cultural immersion. And this team, for example, they were traveling one night and the car broke down and the driver could not call for help because his hands were covered with grease and he would not touch the They had to wipe the hands on and, there was a problem. When they reached one of their destinations, it was night and it was a destination on the mountains and there was absolutely no light. And they found that there's nothing which they can do. They had to find a key somewhere. They couldn't see the road. Nothing else could be seen. And then, somebody got the hint that maybe a flashlight can come into the phone. Then they also find in the cultural immersion that a lot of people, a lot of our workers would travel on their bikes with transistors on, transistors glued to their ears or on their baskets and listening to music. This is something again that brought them to bring in FM into the phone. Now, all these were learnings out of immersion. which resulted in this rugged, affordable, long battery phone, which became the biggest seller. Let us come up with another more recent example. The Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, and a lot of toilets have been opened all over the country. What they found is that a lot of these toilets were not being used for the people they were supposed to have been built. The women of the household, in spite of being told and persuaded and convinced and provided a secure with water and everything being usable, would not use it. And since they could not find a solution to it, they went back to design thinking and had more of a cultural appropriation. And what they found is that that is the only time for the women in the morning where they are away from their home with their neighbors and their friends, and they can talk, they can chat, and they can gossip. That was a very personal time for all of them, which going to such a toilet would deny them that time. And hence then they came up with a community toilet concept where several of these booths were built together, and the dividing wall was built halfway. So they can see each other and they can talk to each other while doing this. So that's how a cultural realization can change the design of the product which you're making. I'll give you another example, which is still a problem. We get cars in India, which are the best of the models from all around the world. But all around the world, these cars are being made for driver comfort. Most of the gadgets, most of the features of the car is around the driver's seat. In India, however, because the culture is different, there's a cross-cultural differentiation. The owner of the car sits in the back seat and the driver drives. So you're basically giving the best seat in the car to the driver and yourself sitting on the worst seat in the car. And there's a solution still yet to be found. It's not there. So this is just to highlight how user research is more important. Next part of the process was to prepare the brief. Now you can't imagine how important this is. Most of the time, the brief is what is different and what makes the solution something else. Again, let me give you an example. All of you would have heard of this problem. When the Apollo 13 was being made, a team of people were called and given a problem that we want a pen which can write in space to be developed. And they spent $10,000 in the research to come up with this kind of a pen where the ink will dry up, where the gravity will not affect, where the balls would remain where they are, and the pen would write. And the joke is that the Russians used a pencil because the brief was wrong. The brief was not to find an instrument which can write in space. The brief was to develop a pen which can write in space. And that small difference spoiled the brief and got America to spend so much money on developing a simple solution, which the Russians did. The third part of it is come from ideating, where actually you have defined the problem, but are now thinking of multiple solutions. And here is what I say, you have to take a different view. You have to get into the freedom from the norm. All right. Again, let me give you an example. You have all seen these Oral-B toothbrushes. All of us use that. The design of it actually came again out of a design thinking hunt, where somebody was closely observing the target, which was a child, and they found that a child is not using the fingers. A child uses the whole fist to brush. And if you make your toothbrushes slimmer or finer, then their fingers are unable to grasp it properly. And hence they find it difficult to brush. And that led them to make this squishy, fat, soft grip on a toothbrush, which not only the kids, but the adults are also finding useful. And that is what is actually being used. If you've used both, you would know the difference. And that's the last step where you finally arrive at a solution. And as we say, sometimes you look at a new solution and you wonder why it wasn't done the way it was before. A solution has to be invisible. It should be so useful that people naturally adapt to it. Whether it's a product or a service, it should fall within, not a solution like many of these we face or like what the farmhouse policy has been there, where there's resistance. The solution should be which should naturally get adapted by everybody. So that is how the solution has to be. I leave you with these thoughts and a few questions. Since all of you are examining this, my first question was, can design thinking be taught as part of a management program? Of course it can be, and that's what you are there for. My second question was more debatable. Can managers be taught to think like designers? That's something you would debate and maybe arrive at some solution. What I can tell you, however, is that best of the B schools around the world have not taught the designers, but they have hired D schools, not hired, but they have collaborated with D schools around this. And so that the design thinking workshops or courses are done in close collaborations with designers. And that is where the best learning happens. So I invite you to view the world from a different point of view. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for putting a question into the mind of participants and us as well. Moving ahead with the inaugural session, our another guest of honor of inaugural session, Dr. Jorge Hirter, Professor, Lucerne University, Switzerland. Jorge Hirter is Professor of Design Management at the Lucerne University of Applied Sciences and Arts in Switzerland. He is also the owner of Hirter Consultancy, where he advises C-suite clients on questions of business strategy and organizational design. He has earned BA in Economics from Columbia University in New York and MA in Political Economy from the University of Basel, Switzerland, and MBA from INSEAD Fortuné, France. Before his current life as consultant and professor, he spent 17 years in corporate environment where he held international management positions in different industries. For example, UBS, that is in banking industry, P&G, that is Procter & Gamble for consumer goods, and Ronald Berger for consulting. Sir has to wake up early today because currently in Switzerland it's 4:35 in the morning, and I request Sir now to share his views on design thinking. Over to you, sir. Hello, Dr. Jorge.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yes, sir, please.
Okay. So, as I was saying, I have a business background, so I will be focusing my comments on the application of design thinking in business. I am a practitioner of design thinking, so I am not talking to you as an academic, I'm talking to you as a practitioner who also does this in an academic manner. The reason why I'm so passionate about this is because I see there's a great potential in here. As my predecessor, Professor Gupta said, we are in a position to solve problems of many kinds with this design thinking approach. And the more exciting ones are the ones that are not in business, by the way, in my opinion. But nevertheless, in business, we still have a potential to exploit, which is not being exploited at the moment. I will go into that a little bit more in my details. So can I share a screen, please? Okay. So my screen is okay. This is the first time I use this software, so
Yes, sir, it's perfectly visible.
excellent. So if I look at what's going on today in business, we have hit the crossroads. There is a how do I get this thing on the top here away? I can see. Do you see my commandos here? The sharing, pausing button, and so forth.
No, sir.
Okay, because for me it covers a bit of the slide, but that's fine. Sorry about this. This is the technical things. Corona, thank you. So coming back, what I observe in business is we have come at the crossroad, right? The way in which business thinks and business solves problems has hit like a little bit of a bump. And we have a huge issue of trust in business based on some questionable practices and some dubious morals that have now become really endemic. We have a growth paradigm that is coming to the limits. We have the meaningfulness of mass production, which has created so much welfare in the world, is also, coming to a question mark. The destruction of nature is a topic. The lack of social responsibility, which corporate players more and more, right, subscribe to. This leads basically to new problems, which business people in MBA programs are not prepared to solve, right? This is not about marketing. This is not about finance. This is about more than that. So the problems that we're looking at are basically what in design terms are called wicked problems. Now, is design thinking going to be the solution and the cure-all? I believe, just to spoil it for you, I believe that design thinking can have a big contribution, but it needs to go beyond what it's doing today. So let me briefly go into some of the ideas that I have here. The original idea behind design thinking was, as Larry Leifer formulated, a method of creative action. It's not by chance that this happened as a transfer from an agency and a community at the university into a engineering school, right? Because they are the ones that deal with usually very wicked problems, and they needed a different way of approaching things back in the 1980s, 70s, 80s, when this was starting off. So what happened is that this method of creative action has been streamlined, right? I think the managers are at the work here too, by the Stanford Design School, D School, and to this 5-step process. So what we learn and what we teach and what I have learned in the courses of design thinking that I took was that you follow these 5 steps and you get to innovation and all these wonderful results that you are desiring for in your business. Now, just as a contrast, right? What does a designer think of his process? How does a designer see his process? This is what I get. This is a design process by the designer. This is just one example, one I like a lot. But if you talk to Norman or you talk to Brown, they will tell you the same thing. you will see all sorts of agencies talking to you about their design process, about the chaos, and about, they don't call it chaos, right? They call it creativity, about the chaos and about the back and forth and all these loops, you know, which in business, if you do too many loops, this can cost you your career, right? What do we see, right? In the way that business thinking has been implemented so far, there's a couple of things that are being criticized. Again, this is not just my opinion here, but this is coming from people like Donald Norman, Tim Brown, and others, right? Who look at this from the designer side, and they see that the process is a bit idealized. It promises a lot, right? Maybe it doesn't really deliver totally, right? The toolkit that is used is very simple. If I count all the methodologies in that 5-step process, I will get maybe 25. A simple book on design methodologies, you will get over 100. So again, the toolkit is a bit lopsided. It ignores the practice experience, right? So the expertise of people that are doing design and that think like designers throughout, right? On the other side, you know, you do see that there are some benefits that are coming from applying design thinking where it is being applied, which is, you know, faster innovation. And at the end, it always mentioned revenue and share price. If you go at the meetings from the Design Management Institute in Boston, which are held all over the world, these are the topics that always come back, right? It's about innovation, it's about revenue, it's about share price, right? So creating value in that sense. And the value here is economic value. Right? The human-centeredness, again, my predecessor addressed this as well. This is one of the key elements of this design thinking part. Right? It's about getting improved focus on the user. It's about increasing customer loyalty, which in the end, it's about sales, right? So there's a very pragmatic reason why we want to start doing this design thinking in a business context. Right? Now, is my sound okay? Because I'm getting a lot of noise. Can you hear me?
Can hear you, sir.
Okay, thank you. So I take an alternative position to this. My proposition is that design thinking has to become a culture, not a design process, not a 5-step process, but a culture, you know, that integrates not only the tools, the design thinking tools, but also the designer mindset, very important, and the competency of doing design. So those 3 elements together are what would provide a design practitioner with really the real power that this design thinking actually has. If I look at the most important one of those 3, because my time is limited, I would have to pick the designer mindset.
1 minute, sir, 1 minute. Sir, 1 minute. Please, I request participants to please mute their mics. There is some sound coming. Participants, please mute your mic because some sound is coming from background. Sir, please go ahead.
Thank you. So the designer mindset, in my opinion, is the more important one, and I like to focus on this one for the time that I have here with you. In order to do designer mindset properly, however, in a management context, you have 3 challenges. 3 challenges must be resolved before this is possible. The first one being the clash of ethos. The second one is the clash of the thinking systems. And the third one is the clash of management practices. Let me take a look at these three, one after the other. The clash of ethos, this has to do with what is management about, what is design about. So when we look at the again, my slides here are very black and white. Reality is a bit more gray. But to make the point, I need to go to a bit too extreme. So I make managerial one way, designer one way. And what I come across here is that managerial thinking is about getting stuff done. You need to go out there. It's about market orientation. It's the keeping the enterprise alive. That's what you do, right? The thing you need to measure is the efficiency, the effectiveness. It's all quantitative. Uncertainty is bad, right? So you manage uncertainty, risk management. This is a huge topic in business. And you focus on functional expertise. The designer, on the other hand, this is about, making the world a better place. Change based on deep understanding. So it's a totally different thing in itself, right? The purpose of design is completely different. And the paradigms, the things that they look at basically are, human-centeredness. Human-centeredness is not only looking at the customer, that's what it has become in a business context, customer-centeredness, user experience, user journey, and so forth. But the human-centeredness has to deal with, as the word says, humanity. So the people who are not customers are also part of this. Today, we call that stakeholder. So understanding stakeholders beyond just the customer is one of those big strengths that designer thinking or design thinking can exploit. The measures of what they do tend to be very subjective, qualitative, right? Uncertainty is the norm. So uncertainty is something that you embrace because that's where the creativity is. Right? So the whole process is interdisciplinary, very iterative. You never know when you finish. You can go on forever, basically, until a manager comes and says, "Stop! I need it now." Right. So the ethos is basically very different between these two professions. The second challenge that I want to discuss is the thinking systems. Managerial thinking tends to be inside out, right? We give something to the world. We bring something to the market. We need to look at what we are, who we are, our vision, our mission statement, and we go out and we conquer, right? Inside out. It's convergent thinking, deductive thinking. Again, black and white, right? Because good managers do both. Also inductive thinking and also divergent thinking. But the designer, as nature of the profession, right? It's an outside-in type of view. The designer, a good designer, disappears. He is only an instrument to do something else, right? So he looks at the outside in, very divergent thinking. So looking at things that don't make sense, things that are not useful, but might be interested in everything. Inductive, abductive thinking, again, coming from single observations to general statements, which is totally different thing from what management does, where they come from precepts which have been accepted and are seen basically as absolute truths. So we have here a clash of the way in which those two professions think. The third clash I'd like to discuss is the management practices. Both business and design need to be managed, but they're managed differently. Right? The management in business is about controlling complexity, getting things done, achieving objectives, right? You have a management process which is recurrent. Every year it's the same. You're closing in the spring, you strategic planning in the early summer, and so forth. Every year it's more or less the same. It's a circular thing, keeps repeating and repeating. It's optimized, it's standardized. The designer, on the other hand, is problem-focused. Right? He aims at creating a solution for whatever problem has been defined, and he does this through a design process which is linear. right? This is very important because the challenge in integrating design in a management context is you need to make place or somehow link up a linear process with a circular process. So the design process as such, has an uncertain outcome. Maybe nothing will come of it, and that's fine. That's the point, right? So it's unclear, it's risky, and it's basically everything that you hate in management, right? In management, you want control, you want proactivity, right? You want foreseeable results. The designer cannot provide this. So if you want to create a culture where design grabs into the management, you need to create that space. Okay. Now, this sounds like it's an impossible thing to do, right? You have the manager that's just one way, the design that's another way, but that's not the case, right? We see today evidence in companies that are deploying design as a culture, not only as a tool, but as a culture, that are very successful at this. If I look back at my corporate times, the very few, because there were not many of them, people that were really top professionals, brand managers, finance managers, right? Strategy, right? These people were thinking like a designer. Right? They were outside oriented. They were doing research of customers the way that it wasn't done because the Nielsen data is not enough, right? You need more than that. So these people at the time, because there was no design management programs that I know of at the time, this was in the 1980s, 1990s, they were not schooled like that. These were classic MBAs, but they did this based on their experience, right? They had deep reflection of what was working, what was not working, and they devised processes which today, looking back, I say this was design thinking in the making, right? Based on their personal DNA. Right? At the time, nobody could explain why these people were so good and others not, right? What can you do to others, members of the organization, to bring them up to speed? Today we know, right? Today we have some hints. The second thing is I, in my consulting practice, started implementing these design principles and processes and tools 2008. And I have to say that since then, I have had 100% implementation of the projects that were done. Right? This is unheard of in the management consulting profession. Right? So what I attribute this success to, it's not only my excellence, but it's the approach. Right? It's this approach that is human-centered, that takes the client, brings them into on the table, develop solutions together, and so forth, right? It's the design thinking process that, you all know. The impact, market impact, and innovation can already be seen in several companies. Swisscom, for instance, or T-Mobile in Germany, Philips in Holland, P&G, just to not forget that one, or the Swiss Post. These companies are making huge efforts in implementing this, not as tools, but as part of their culture, part of their DNA. And they are changing, right? This is a huge effort, very big effort, a lot of resistance inside because, the elderly employees, they are a bit skeptical about all these new things, right? But once they start seeing what this means and how it works and how they get involved, then they suddenly tend to change their minds. So this is actually working quite well in the companies that I have seen try this. And finally, if anybody's skeptical, McKinsey and PwC and Deloitte and all these people are putting their money into this. Now, these are companies that are not known for squandering money. So when they are going in this direction, there must be a little bit something behind it. I'm not sure yet what's coming out of it, because what I see coming out, especially from McKinsey, that's where I have more contact with, is not there yet, but it's a beginning, right? What does it take to make design thinking into a real value deliverer? Right? And again, as you have probably heard from everything I have said, it's about people. Right? It's always the people. The mindset is in people. The work is done by people. The excellence is in people. So I will address my comments here to people, to practitioners of design thinking. So first of all, acknowledging the relevance, growing relevance of design thinking, as we are now trying to solve problems of resilience, sustainability, inclusion, social impact, and so forth inside of a business context. It's no longer the thing of the government or somebody else. This hits home. And the business approaches until now, right, have not been really that great at solving these new problems. So something new will have to come, and I am convinced design thinking will be one of those things. As a manager, you should apply design thinking, but also know your limitations. Right? Get support. This is very important. You are learning something new. You're learning to think differently. You are, in a way, you're repolling your brain. So this is something that requires a little bit of support. While you are at it, suspend judgment. Identify the differences. Try to understand the other side, empathy and that kind of thing. Integrate the learnings into your management practice. So in other words, just be a designer. The benefits of design thinking also there's lists. I've Googled a little bit to get some ideas for today, but the lists are just they run and run and run. The real wins, right, is that you have a new mindset. You arrive at new solutions. You get new perspectives on the things that you have been doing for the last decades, right? And this will lead to innovation, which is of a higher grade than just incremental. Finally, I didn't know if I should bring this because I didn't want to insult anybody, but I will say it anyway, right? There's an old saying that says, a fool with a tool is still a fool. So my plea, right, is, let's try to not fall into that trap. Now, before I close, I'd like to place a personal plea, right, an appeal to you. As you, because from what I understood, most of you are faculty, most of you are people who will be training and influencing the mindset of your students. I plea, let's keep the ethical basis of design thinking intact. Business has a tendency to alter innovations, to usurp the innovations, to serve the purpose of growth and profit, right? This is their DNA. This is what they do. Now, design and design thinking work as they do precisely because they seek neither profit nor growth, right? All they are trying to do is make the world a better place for all of us. So let me now finish with a short inspiration. I'll use an analogy for this. Implementing design thinking in a business context is like using a 5-step procedure to draw a horse, right? So you draw 2 circles, you add some legs, right? More or less research. The research on those legs was not really good, but that's the legs they got. Then they draw the face, right? Put some hair on it, and then you have already a horse, but it's not there yet, right? So you still need a couple of details, and then you have your horse. Now, the way to get through a process like this that delivers a fiver is this. Right? You need the mindset, you need the tools, and you need the competency all combined, and that will give you the desired results. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, for explaining the design thinking process in very simple manner. Moving ahead with the function, today we are very fortunate enough to have Shri G.T. Pandya sir with us. Sir is Director at Directorate of Technical Education, Government of Gujarat. Under the able leadership of Pandya sir, DTE is managing the administration of all government engineering colleges of Gujarat. I request sir to share his thoughts on the occasion of National Faculty Development Program on Design Thinking organized by Graduate School of Management Studies, DTE. Please, sir.
Good morning all. Under the various flagship initiative of AICTE, ATAL Faculty Development Program, which started across the nation, which is leading the popular capacity building program. It is my pleasure to highlight a recent achievement of AICTE training and learning ATAL Academy to get recognized in the World Book Record, London, UK, to conduct more than 1,000 FDP program, thereby training about more than 1 lakh faculty members in year 2021. I would like to congratulate Dr. Naveen Seth sir, Honorable Vice President, GTU. Eminent guest of honor, Dr. Sanjay Gupta sir, Honorable Vice Chancellor, World University of Design, Haryana. Dr. Jorge, Hirter, Professor, Lucerne University of Applied Science and Art, Switzerland. Dr. K.N. Kher sir, Registrar, GTU, and Dr. Pankaj Rai Patel, Director, Graduate School of Management Study. FTP coordinator, resource person, officials involved.
So I had a class at 10:15 with you, but एक थोड़ी सी meeting आ गई है, which I can't
and
avoid.
participate for this wonderful program on very interesting and important topic, like design thinking for the management education. Design thinking is powerful tool to tackle the problem and to meet the customer unmet need. It includes a concept development, idea generation, creativity application, prototype development, experiment, which GTU has started since the initial time in 2010. GTU through the GTU Innovation Council. I have been told that GTU has inserted design engineering in the engineering study, as especially in the bachelor engineering since 2013-14 in the 6th semester. GTU has given weightage to this concept of design thinking, so student project can be made effective and more innovative can be aimed for this. Design thinking for the management education is nowadays much more important aspect to the look and with the management function. This will encourage and speed up the ideation stage of innovator. I will sure that all the participants will enjoy and will become design thinking mentors. So GSMS GTU has invited eminent speakers who are expert in the design thinking field, which includes the IIT Delhi, IIT Mumbai, ISDI Mumbai, IISc Bangalore, BIMTech UP, NID Ahmedabad, and such. I am sure all the participants will have tremendous experience and learning and design thinking concept. At this stage, I once again congratulate and best wishes to Dr. Naveen Seth sir and Kher sir for beautiful success and great success of this program. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, sir, for motivating us. I request Dr. Pankaj Rai Patel, our Director, Graduate School of Management Studies, to propose vote of thanks.
Honorable Vice Chancellor Dr. Naveen Seth sir, today's Chief Guest Shri G.T. Pandya, IAS Director, Directorate of Technical Education, Government of Gujarat, Guest of Honor Dr. Sanjay Gupta, Honorable Vice Chancellor from World University of Design, and Professor Dr. Jorge Hirter from Lucerne University, Switzerland, and Dr. K.N. Kher, Registrar GTU. First of all, my thanks to AICTE for providing us this wonderful opportunity to organize a FDP on a new topic of design thinking in management education. Although it is associated more with engineering, but still, as per the experts that have given their presentations, it finds its very much application in management education also. I also thank all the today's guests for sparing their valuable time for this inaugural session right in the early morning. In fact, Dr. Jorge Hirter has stayed awake till 4 o'clock to join us from all the way from Switzerland. Thank you, sir, a lot. I also thank our Vice Chancellor, sir, for providing us the motivation to conduct such types of FDPs all around the year and GTU at various different occasions. And I thank our Registrar, Dr. K.N. Kher, sir, for providing us all the necessary help so that all these functions goes on smoothly. I also thank my co-coordinator, Kaushal Bhatt, and Tushar Panchal for coming out with this FDP on this brief time. And then thanks goes to my IT department for providing us the necessary infrastructure so that we can conduct this FDPs for all the 5 days smoothly. And ultimately, the experts and participants without whom this FDP would not have been successful. The experts have come as identified from all the way from India, and similarly all the 200 participants coming from 21 different states of India. So this FDP becomes a pan-India status. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, sir. Now we conclude our inauguration session here. I request all the participants to join our Microsoft Teams link for the another session at 10:30. Thank you very much. Thank you.